when Absalom the son of David was killed in his attempt to kill his father, the king was much moved, and went up to the chamber over the gate, and wept. And as he went, thus he said, O my son Absalom, my son, Absalom, would I had died for thee, O Absalom, my son, my son. Of the books called Shemuel, the second, chapter 19. And it was told Joab, Behold, the king weepeth and mourneth for Absalom. And the salvation that day was turned into mourning to all the people, for the people heard say that day, The king grieveth for his son. And the people got them by stealth that day into the city, as people that are ashamed steal away when they flee in battle. And the king covered his face, and the king cried with a loud voice, O my son Absalom, O Absalom, my son, my son. And Joab came into the house to the king, and said, Thou hast shamed this day the faces of all thy servants, who this day have saved thy soul, and the soul of thy sons, and of thy daughters, and the soul of thy women, and the soul of thy concubines, in that thou lovest them that hate thee, and hatest them that love thee. For thou hast declared this day that princes and servants are naught to thee. For this day I perceive that if Absalom had lived, and all we had died this day, then it had pleased thee well. Now therefore arise, go forth, and word thou upon the heart of thy servants. For I swear by Yahweh, if thou go not forth, there will not tarry a man with thee this night, and that will be worse to thee than all the evil that hath befallen thee from thy youth until now. Then the king arose and sat in the gate, and they told to all the people, saying, Behold, the king is sitting in the gate. And all the people came before the king. Now Israel had fled, every man to his tent. And all the people were at strife throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, The king delivered us out of the hand of our enemies, and he saved us out of the hand of the Philistine. And now he is fled out of the land from Absalom. And Absalom, whom we anointed over us, is dead in battle. Now therefore, why speak ye not a word of bringing the king back? And King David sent to Zadok and to Abiathar the priests, saying, Speak to the elders of Yehudah, saying, Why are ye the last to bring the king back to his house, seeing the speech of all Israel is come to the king, to bring him to his house? Ye are my brothers, ye are my bone and my flesh. For what reason then are ye the last to bring back the king? And say ye to Amashah, Art thou not my bone and my flesh? God do so to me, and more also, if thou be not captain of the host before me continually in place of Joab. And he bowed the heart of all the men of Yehudah, even as the heart of one man, so that they sent to the king, saying, Return thou, and all thy servants. So the king returned, and came to the Jordan, and Yehudah came to Gilgal, to go to meet the king, to bring the king over the Jordan. And Shimei the son of Gerah, the Benyamini, who was of Bahurim, hasted and came down with the men of Yehudah to meet King David. And there were 1,000 men of Benjamin with him, and Ziba, the servant of the house of Shaul, and his 15 sons, and his 20 servants with him. And they went through the Jordan in the presence of the king. And there went over a ferry boat to bring over the king's household, and to do what he thought good. And Shimei the son of Gerah fell down before the king when he was come over the Jordan. And he said to the king, Let not my lord impute iniquity to me, neither do thou remember that which thy servant did perversely, the day that my lord the king went out of Jerusalem, that the king should take it to his heart. For thy servant doth know that I have sinned. Therefore, behold, I am come this day, the first of all the house of Yosef, to go down to meet my lord the king. But Abishai the son of Zeruiah answered and said, Shall not Shimei be put to death for this, because he cursed Yahweh's anointed? And David said, What have I to do with you, ye sons of Zeruiah, that ye should this day be adversaries to me? Shall there any man be put to death this day in Israel? For do not I know that I am this day king over Israel? And the king said to Shimei, Thou shalt not die. And the king swore an oath to him. And Mephibosheth, the son of Shaul, came down to meet the king, and he had neither dressed his feet, nor trimmed his beard, nor washed his clothes, from the day the king departed until the day he came home in peace. And it was, when he was come to Jerusalem to meet the king, that the king said to him, For what reason wentest not thou with me, Mephibosheth? And he answered, My lord, O king, my servant deceived me. For thy servant said, I will saddle me a donkey, that I may ride thereon, and go with the king, because thy servant is lame. And he hath slandered thy servant to my lord the king. But my lord the king is like the God's messenger. Do therefore what is good in thy eyes. For all my father's house were but dead men before my lord the king. Yet didst thou set thy servant among them that did eat at thy own table. What right therefore have I yet, that I should cry any more to the king? And the king said to him, Why speakest thou any more of thy matters? I say, thou and Ziba divide the land. And Mephibosheth said to the king, Yea, let him take all, for as much as my lord the king is come in peace to his own house. And Barzillai the Galaadi came down from Rogelim, and he went over the Jordan with the king to conduct him over the Jordan. Now Barzillai was a very aged man, even 80 years old, and he had provided the king with sustenance while he lay at Mahanaim, for he was a very great man. And the king said to Barzillai, Come thou over with me, and I will sustain thee with me in Jerusalem. And Barzillai said to the king, How many are the days of the years of my life, that I should go up with the king to Jerusalem? I am this day 80 years old. Can I discern between good and bad? Can thy servant taste what I eat, or what I drink? Can I hear any more the voice of singing men and singing women? For what reason then should thy servant be yet a burden to my lord the king? Thy servant would but just go over the Jordan with the king, and why should the king recompense it me with such a reward? Let thy servant, I pray thee, turn back again, that I may die in my own city, by the grave of my father and my mother. But behold, thy servant cometh harm. Let him go over with my lord the king, and do to him what shall seem good to thee. And the king answered, Kamaham shall go over with me, and I will do to him that which shall seem good to thee. And whatsoever thou shalt require of me, that will I do for thee. And all the people went over the Jordan, and the king went over. And the king kissed Barzillai, and blessed him, and he returned to his own place. So the king went over to Gilgal, and Kamaham went over with him, and all the people of Yehudah brought the king over, and also half the people of Yisrael. And behold, all the men of Israel came to the king, and said to the king, Why have our brothers, the men of Yehudah, stolen thee away, and brought the king and his household over the Jordan, and all David's men with him? And all the men of Yehudah answered the men of Israel, Because the king is near of kin to us. For what reason then are ye angry for this matter? Have we eaten at all at the king's cost, or hath he given us any gift? And the men of Israel answered the men of Yehudah, and said, We have 10 parts in the king, and we have also more right in David than ye. Why then did ye despise us, that our advice should not be first had in bringing back our king? And the words of the men of Yehudah were fiercer than the words of the men of Israel. And there happened to be there a man of worthlessness, whose name was Shabbat, the son of Bochri, a Benjamini, and he blew the sounding horn, and said, We have no portion in David, neither have we inheritance in the son of Yeshai. Every man to his tents, O Yisrael. So all the men of Yisrael went up from following David, and followed Shabbat, the son of Bochri. But the men of Yehudah clave to their king, from the Jordan even to Jerusalem.